There was always this understanding that, like, the president, we wouldn't elevate somebody to that position who would just say fuck it all. We weren't prepared for that. Our Constitution can't hold up to that. The Constitution by itself is powerless if you don't have people who stand up for it and enforce it. And we're starting to see the breaks. We're starting to see the Republicans come to the table. We're not alone anymore. It's not Republicans versus Democrats. It's MAGA versus the rest of the country. I hate to pile on Cenk Uygur. If any of you guys don't know, Cenk's the owner of the Young Turks. Here's the advice that Cenk's giving out now. I love the people who went to protest against the Trump administration because they're getting involved in democracy. They're fighting back on issues they care deeply about, and they're at least doing something. But I think organizers owe them a better explanation on what step 2 is. Armchair quarterback in here, right? I also am not going to take notes on what people should have done over the weekend. I wasn't out. I wasn't out there protesting this weekend either. So I'm not going to, and I'm not an organizer. So no notes there. But he says, if you want to stop something like deporting critics of Israel or the cuts to Social Security offices, I agree completely. But how are you going to get Trump to stop that? He doesn't mind the protests because they animate his own base to rally around him and dig in more. That's true. He's right about that. What it does is it separates people from his base. Right? It makes people in his base choose. Am I just going to keep following this blindly, or am I going to address the reality in my face that this doesn't make any sense? Cenk has had a bad year. He's just wrong about everything. My suggestion is to talk to your fellow citizens instead of yelling at Trump voters. Engage in a conversation. See what motivates them. See if there are things you have common ground on, like free speech and protecting Social Security. A lot of them actually do care about these things. Yeah, we saw that at the protest, Cenk. We saw that at the protests. My approach is not as emotionally satisfying. Yelling at someone on the other side is a great emotional release. Talking to them politely is the opposite. It's frustrating. There's huge disagreements. It seems too conciliatory, but it's much more likely to get a better result. I was on a live with this weekend. Somebody asked me a similar question. I think that it's my role as somebody who is broadcasting something to have intelligent conversation wherever I can, to have conversation that flows wherever I can. But what a protest is meant for, Cenk, is to yell things loudly to get people's attention. I've never seen a protest where people go out and sit down quietly and discuss things with each other. Nobody shows up for that. But millions of people across the country showed up because they wanted to yell, because they're frustrated, because they wanted to get that out. And it created a unifying feeling across the country. And frankly, it forced people to do things that they weren't always comfortable with. I saw a mom from the neighborhood that I grew up in. And their family's always been very Republican. They're very Trump. And she was out protesting with a sign that said, "I'm doing this for my grandchildren." Even the most ardent Trump supporters who understand the future, the necessity for a future in this country to have things like healthcare, Medicaid, Social Security, rule of law, those people are turning. I've told you about my friend that's a business owner. He's getting hit by this, and he's somebody that's maybe MAGA adjacent. People are actually being hurt here. And it's important to give people an outlet to go yell and scream. And I think those protests were one of the best things that at least this side of the aisle that I've ever seen us do. They were incredibly effective. Incredibly. When they say like, oh, well, Trump doesn't give a shit about that. He'll double down. That's true. But some Republicans will. And that's the point of all of this. You've got to pick these people off one by one. You have to pressure these people over and over and over again until they can't handle the pressure anymore. And they have to concede. Everybody that went out there and protested this weekend, unbelievable. Everybody who couldn't make it to a protest this weekend and was sharing videos and sharing signs, unbelievable stuff. You have MAGA scrambling right now. And you have them in a situation where they don't really have an answer for any of this. In fact, the line going through Trump country is trust him. Just trust it. Trust the process. That's what they've been reduced down to. Just trust us, guys. This will work. Just trust us. Remember, you voted for us, so you have to trust us. And too many people, for them to win elections again, are saying no thanks. I think this is one of those things that we don't overcome quickly by the midterms. There's no shot. There's no shot of Republicans keeping their stranglehold over Congress during the midterms. None. Nobody should stop being loud about this. Even if Trump drops all these tariffs, even if he completely capitulates and the stock market goes back up, the hole in our legal system, in our legal framework, has been exposed. What we never really prepared for adequately in this country is a strongman. We never prepared for somebody who would say, fuck you courts, fuck you Congress, fuck you police, I'm going to do what I want. There was always this understanding that, like, the president, we wouldn't elevate somebody to do that position who would just say, fuck it all. We weren't prepared for that. Our Constitution can't hold up to that. The Constitution by itself is powerless if you don't have people who stand up for it and enforce it. And we're starting to see the breaks. We're starting to see the Republicans come to the table. I'll cover that in a few minutes. But we're not alone anymore. It's not Republicans versus Democrats. It's MAGA versus the rest of the country. And MAGA is a massive movement, but it's bleeding membership. It's bleeding support.